Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. I want to draw your attention to something that I brought in, and that's this. This is a piano. It's an actual piano. One end, two, whoops, I'll push it down a little bit more. Let me just push it down a little bit more. Okay, that's a piano, a whole piano. And what makes this unusual is that it's a roll-up piano. A roll-up piano can be rolled up. When I bought this piano, and I cut off part of it because it's not playing anymore, and I cut off the apparatus that made it play, which would have made it maybe 3 or 4 inches longer. But when it came all rolled up tightly in a box. And I thought, how was that ever going to play? But it did. It played beautifully. So let me take it off. I had more fun with this thing because I pick it up, and there it is. It rolls up. You can put it across your arm and carry it with you, and that's what I used to do. I was in a nursing home, doing a nursing home ministry, and I had this or something like it. Let me hold it out this way so you can get a better aspect on its size. And of course, in order to play it, I have to bring a board or something to lay it flat on. So what I did was I got myself some foam board, and at a dollar store. It was cheap. And then I covered it with like a contact paper that looked like wood. It wouldn't matter what you covered it with. You wouldn't really need to cover it at all, but it looked nice. And so I put that board across my lap, and then I put this piano on it so it would lay flat, and I would play it. And I heard one elderly lady say to the other, "It's the smallest organ I've ever seen." And I had to laugh because I had it on an organ setting. These things come with an incredible amount of different kinds of instrument settings that you can use. I think it's well over 100. I think I had about 140 or something on this. And it only has 2 problems, and these are the problems that it has. That you don't see many. For a while, they were all the rage. Everybody was buying them, including myself. I had 3 of them. The 2 problems that it has is that the instrument, the keys don't indent. When you push them down, they don't indent. So therefore, you're putting pressure to get them to play, and there's no moving, there's no room, no wiggle room in terms of pressing them down. If I take an instrument like this, now this is also a small keyboard, and it plays fine, but the keys indent. They push down. When you push down, they actually indent. This one plays 2 notes at a time. But it won't play any more than 2 notes at a time, so I can't play a chord with it. Nonetheless, I can use it to show certain things. And it is a Casio, and I've had it for quite a long time, and it does well. And it does have different kinds of settings, so you can get different kinds of keys. Like, for example, I used to use 33 a lot. But you can't do any more than 2 notes at a time. Violin is 43. It does really quite well, and I like it. This has 44 settings on it. But at any rate, the keys do indent like they should, but you don't get that on a roll-up piano. And what happens as a result of that, you're actually putting pressure on your wrists and your hands and your shoulders. And a lot of people end up with having backaches and so forth for that reason, because there's no give room in it. But that's not the worst problem it has. The worst problem it has is suddenly it just dies and doesn't play anymore. You don't know why. Sometimes it makes odd noises, or you'll press a key and the key won't release, so it just keeps on playing, so you have to shut it off and turn it back on again to get the key to stop playing. When it starts doing odd things, it's not going to last much longer, and then one day it just quits on you. It doesn't play anymore. And most of them don't last more than a year and a half. I mean, I think the longest one I had lasted about a year and a half. Some of them didn't last near that long, a few months, and they were gone. So as a result of that, and I think, the fact that you can roll it up must do something with the filaments or whatever they do in the inside, because the fun of it was I would put it down, I would play it, and then I'd pick it up, put it over my arm, and then I'd carry it with me. And people who were in an audience or a congregation used to marvel at that, because what is this anyway, a piano that you can fold up? Because they hadn't seen one before. In nursing homes, I put it on an organ setting, and the organ setting sounded pretty well. And they thought it was an actual organ. They got fooled by that. But it does have that problem, and now I don't see them advertised very much. Because after a while they're just going to die. If you have 2 or 3 of them and it continues to die, you're not going to really want to buy any more. So I wanted to kind of show you that. Now I'm going to do something else that I wanted to tell you something about timing. And this is going to be kind of important. We watch the time signatures before we play. We watch the key signatures before we play. And therefore, we know the key that we're playing in and the timing that we're playing in. And so if you look at this is an actual hymn. And if you look up here, you have your treble clef, you have your key signature. It's in the key of G because there's an F sharp there. There is no time signature. Now, how do you know what the time is? Well, you assign maybe 1 beat to every note because they are quarter notes for the most part, and you just count it out. And for the most part, this fits into 4/4 time. 4 beats to a measure and a quarter note getting 1 beat. That's the way that it usually fits in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Why? Because the dotted half note is actually 3 beats, and then 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is an actual hymn. When you get down here, there's a change. There are 6 beats to the measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How does that work in 4/4 time? Well, there's no time signature, so you can do anything you want to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play it. It is a hymn. I don't know who wrote it, but I am going to use it anyway. And it's called O Come, Emmanuel. And if you attend church services, a lot of times they play this at Christmas time. It is a Christmas hymn. Now I'll play it, then I'll dissect it for you as to what we did and why I did it. So this is the way it goes. It's not very fast. Now, if you were able to follow along, it sounds like it's in a minor key, but it's not. The way that it's written makes it sound like that. It's in the key of G. That's not a minor key at all. So you start off with this 1 note. Now, you have a stem down, and you have a stem up. That's the way it's written in the music. And the thing is, it can be sung, if you're singing it, it can be sung by an alto, in which the stem might be down, or the bass, the stem might be down, the soprano, the stem is up. And then it goes on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when you get down here to the 6 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if it had a time signature, which it doesn't, you could say this is 4/4, and then you get down here and you change the time signature to 6/4. And then when you get to the end of that measure, you go back to 4/4 time, because it goes back to 4/4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now that last note is 3 beats. Now how do you get that to mathematically be perfect? Well, this is 1 beat, that 3 beats, and that 1 beat adds 4 beats. Even though you're not playing it at the same time, that makes it mathematically perfect in terms of everything gets 4 beats. But what does it matter? Because here you've got 6 beats. Now this would be an older hymn. In some of the older music, they didn't always put in time signatures. You played quarter notes like quarter notes, and who knows, sometimes you might have 16 in a measure, sometimes you might have 3. But they didn't change the key, they didn't change the time signature for it. If this had been modern music, this would be 4/4 time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This would have been an introductory note. It could be an introduction, just that one note, and then you get down here. Now when you get down here, there's a double line. This is 3 beats, and this is the starting of a refrain. In other words, if you have a song, you may have some verses and then you have a chorus. This would be like the chorus. And so this is 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a line there. This forms one measure, although it looks like that 3 beats is one measure with the double line. That double line only tells you that there's a change coming, and the change is it's going to be a refrain. So therefore, that's the change, and you have one note added to this note, and you have one full measure of 4 beats. But it's I say refrain, so it's like a chorus. So it's like you start with a measure, and then the chorus starts before the measure ends, so you have that double line denoting that something is coming up. And what's coming up is the refrain. And then you get to there and you play the 6, okay? And then it goes back to 4, 4, this is 3, and you add that 1. Now, I can only hazard a guess as to why they didn't put in a time signature. It may be they just didn't want to bother with it, because you would figure it out when you played it. This is going to be 3 beats, and this is going to be a 4th beat. But the time signature never goes into 6/4, but there is one measure with a 6/4. So if you don't put in the time, then you can have as many notes in a measure as you want. And in this case, they did it 6. Now, I suspect this is an example of real old music where they weren't sometimes as fussy as we might be today in writing it out. And sometimes people will slow down on part of it and speed up, but there's no indication in the music that you have to do it. So I know that some musicians do it anyway. I wanted to mention this is a whole note and one ledger line through it, and that's going to be the middle C, because that's the way it's written. If you have a middle C like this with a stem up and a stem down, it can be sung by a soprano or an alto. And then you can have half notes that are also that middle C. It has one ledger line straight through it, and this would be like the bass clef. This would be like the treble clef. The stem tells you which clef it is. But that's not always something that you can rely on, because if you have a note that's higher, oftentimes you put the line to the left and down. If you have a note that's lower, you usually put the stem on the right and have it sticking up. So you can't always go by that. There are always, exceptions to the rule. This would be the middle C as a treble note. This is the middle C as a bass note. With other notes, usually it doesn't matter. They're up or down depending upon what level they are. It's easier to see this down. It's easier to see this down. It's easier to read this with the stem going up. But the middle C is in a unique position, because that middle C is halfway between the treble clef and the bass clef. And so you can read it either way, the top note of the bass clef or the bottom note of the treble clef. At any rate, this is a hymn, and I'm going to play it again. So you can kind of follow along. I know that Rick showed you the music as I was playing it before. I'm going to play it again and just kind of follow along with it. It's not very fast. It's very nice. A lot of people love this hymn. It's one of their favorites, and we do sing it a lot at Christmas time. But I wanted to show you this specifically because it does not have a time signature, and I wanted to use it as an example. So let me play it once again. Now on this here with the 6, there are sometimes people will stop at the end of the 4th beat and hold it. Actually the 5th one. So they make a measure of it. They get A, C, B, A, and G, hold the G, and then this one comes in as an extra note beside that. But most people, the way it's written, you don't have to do that. The way it's written is that you do 1 beat for each one beat for each note. So I just want to show you that. Now there is another thing I want to show you, which we have time for, I think, just barely. And that's another way to read music. Now, this comes from an actual hymn book, and I don't know if we can get it close enough. I was going to rewrite it. I didn't rewrite it. But I want to show you, in terms of the timing, how things are written so that you can be able to read regular music. And so if we can get that, he'll get that as high as large as we can. I may actually rewrite it. I didn't have time to do it for this time, but I may rewrite it so you can see it better. Okay, so he'll have that up. Now this is a hymn, There Is a Balm in Gilead. And I just want to show you the process of reading the music in it. You start with 4/4 time, and you have the treble clef. Let me turn my copy because I have to see what you're seeing. Okay, and so you get the 2-beat rest. These are 8th notes, and it's called a refrain. This is kind of like the main thing of it. You play it, and when you get down to, let's see, when you get down to here, the time signature changed to 2 beats. It's 2 beats, and it's only a change for 1 measure. And it's just for 4 notes, and you count it 1 and 2 and then it goes right back to 4/4 time again. Now I also want to mention this line here, the treble clef, the bass clef, and that line, you'll notice it keeps repeating all the way down. That means that you play those lines together. So if you're in a chorus, the soprano would be on the top, the alto would be the second part down, but they're both on the treble clef. Then you might have a tenor playing the top part of the bass clef and a bass singing the bottom part of the bass clef. So it's like a 4-part piece where you have 4 parts singing: soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. And that's pretty common in music. Now there are others. There's contraltos, and there are other people that are singing different parts, or would be. But the music is written for those 4 parts. And as I said, you get down here, it changes to 2 beats, goes right back into 4 beats, and then and the same thing happens in the bass clef as happens in the treble clef, and then you go through it. See, I should watch my copy and see what's going on here. When you get here, you get a DS, and what does that mean? Go back to the sign. And the sign is right at the beginning. This is the sign. It looks like a little S, and then you have a line through it with some dots. And so you go back and you play until you get to a heavy line right here that says fine. And fine means that's the end of the song. So that's the way it goes. You read the music, you read the signs, and then you know when to play and how to play. So you start, you know about the key signature, you know about the time signature, and you go and you play, and then it switches to the 2/4, and then it switches back. You'll notice that there are some fermatas. This little sign here, the curve with a dot in it, is a fermata. That means you hold that note, but it's only held on the top. The bottom doesn't have a fermata. They're playing this or they're singing this, and you're holding that top note while they finish doing that. So it's a fermata on the top but not on the bottom. And then you just keep on going until you get to the DS, and then you go to the top, and then you play to the fine, and that's the end of the song. You save yourself a lot of writing time if you do it. I think what I'll do is I'm going to play this because you may not know it. There is a Balm in Gilead. It's a hymn. A lot of people like it. And you notice that it's in the key of F, which is B flat. You will notice that on the signature here, you may not be able to see it. So I really think what I'm going to do is probably rewrite it so I can show it to you next time in a way that's easier for you to see. This is a B flat. That puts it in the key of F. But it's 4/4 time. So I'm going to play. It's not fast, and I'm going to play it. And that's how it goes. But you need to read the signs so you know it. I noticed that, if I can figure it out here, I noticed that you have a double fermata. You see down there, that's a fermata. It's the curve with the dot, but it's like reversed from the top. The top fermata is a curve with a dot in it, and the curve is on top. On the bottom, there's that same accord is held, but the fermata is drawn in a little different way. Its curve is on the bottom, and there's a dot in the middle. So, and so you can, when you learn how to read the signs of music, you can actually play a lot of music, and it doesn't mean that you're going to spend a lot of time writing. But you do need to know what the symbols are. You need to know what the DS is. You need to know where the sign are. And when you say the sign, when it says go back to the DS right here, that's del segno, and it means go back to the sign. And the sign is right here. And you notice the word refrain. In other words, you're playing it again. That's all that means. You're playing it again. So, and that's also the main part of the piece. So that's the way that it goes. And I'm going to just take you through piece after piece. And as I say, I may do this one again, and I'm going to write it again. I didn't have time to do it. Just to show you some of the things that'll be easier for you to see. You need to know your timing. You need to know what the signs are. It's like driving a car or reading a book. The signs mean something. A period means you're coming to the end of the sentence. A capital letter means that you're starting another sentence, or something needs to be capitalized, like the name of a person or the name of a city or something like that. And then, you know, if it says, a sign says slow, you slow down. There's a special way in music to write that out. So it's just like reading or anything else. You have certain symbols that mean certain things, and you are actually reading the music. That's what they say when they say reading music. And sometimes you'll ask a person, can you read the music? That means, can you read the signs? Do you know what it means? Do you know the fingerings of the notes? Do you know that that A is is two steps above that E, or just whatever it is that you are reading. The notes, you are reading notes. When you see a note and you know how to finger it, you're reading a note. You're reading the signs as you go along. So that's important, and we need to spend time with it as we will. We're coming to the end of our time, so I'm going to close it here. We'll be doing something else next time. Please join me next. Please join me next time.